than what it may seem. So I want to get into the jobs report from July. Then I want to get into the layoffs because one thing that I have seen since I am a recruiter, I do have to keep tabs of what is happening in terms of, you know, who's hiring, who's not hiring, who's competition for the jobs that I would be recruiting for. And what I've been seeing is a ton of companies, especially those that were startups and overhired, have had to do layoffs because they overhired or they didn't foresee what would come in terms of changes with, investment opportunities, tightening with investments because of the Fed hiking up interest rates and things. So here we are with companies doing these mass layoffs. And then we also have to talk about this trend that I'm seeing that I didn't know about, where assistants are making for up to $400,000 to kind of be a person or a family's, obviously elite, um, go-to person. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the job. What does it entail? How do you even get into it? Is it all that it's cracked up to be? Is it good? Is it bad? So we'll get into that. Let me just pause for just a second. I'll be right back. So I think I've been muted this entire time. Hopefully you can hear me. Anyway, so I want to get into the jobs report first because this is something that was highlighted in my LinkedIn stream. Of course, you guys know I'm always on LinkedIn. I'm trying to keep tabs on who's hiring, who's firing. And I see this report where it says US jobs unexpectedly soar in July. And when I say soar, I really do mean soar. So the reports came out that the US as an economy, we actually added over 500,000 jobs last month, which was unexpected because we've been seeing as a whole all of these different layoff reports. So typically, when we see a lot of companies laying off, um, there is generally a lot of companies laying off. It's not the case where we have now, where yes, companies are having layoffs. However, there are other companies that have been begging for talent and now they can grab onto that talent even with those layoffs. So it still feels like a good job market where people aren't feeling like, okay, just because they've been laid off, they're just down and out and their chances of getting a job are decreased, like in say 2008, for example. It feels a lot different. So a big reason for that is because we did add exactly 528,000 is the report here. 528,000 jobs in July. So if you lost your job or something, you don't feel like, oh my gosh, it's impossible or it's so tricky to get a new job. Now, certain industries, yes, you probably are going to feel that way. But a majority of industries, there's going to be another company hiring, even though there's this company laying off people, right? So it says more than double the amount forecast by Wall Street. So Wall Street was forecasting, I guess, about 250,000 jobs, maybe. So it was overestimated, right? Came through. It's good. I mean, it's positive news. So the unemployment rate actually dropped to 3.5%, and that matches a 50-year low set just before the pandemic. So that's a key thing. Hello, Gamer Bro. Welcome. So that's a good sign. So it's a sign that many employers are brushing off recession fears. Meanwhile, year on year wage growth ticked up 5.2%. So that's another good thing. It was 5.1% in June. So this could really increase consumer demand. It can make people feel more comfortable. Like, when things are tightened, when companies are laying off, like people don't want to spend. But when companies are hiring in mass, we're increasing salaries and, pay rates. Yeah, that makes people feel like, all right, kind of like 2019. 2019 was a good year for many reasons, right? Because it was normal. And then also the economy was fairly good, definitely in the US and I would say generally worldwide. But yeah, so that's the first report I wanted to talk about. This is the article. I'm going to put it in the chat just so you know what I'm talking about, and I'm not just making it up. I'm not making these numbers up. Here's the report if you would like to view it. Then we have to talk about the 400. Well, I'm going to save that to the end. I'm going to talk about that one after. Let's see. So this is the next one. I'm just going to show what I'm looking at. Because meanwhile, like it's great to hear all that good news. However, my concern is that, what about the mass amount of companies hiring? Are they going to continue that hiring? Or because the thing is, a ton of companies have had layoffs, they've had to balance things out, they overhired, whatever. But the key piece of this puzzle is the companies that are still hiring. Like the company I'm working at right now, we're hiring en masse, right? What happens if those companies do slow down? That is the question. And that's what a lot of, the economists, everyone in the news, they were kind of thinking, okay, these companies are laying off. It seems like we're going into a recession, right? We're slowing down, we're hiking up interest rates, we're kind of tightening. But as long as the job market is strong, that helps us out a lot. Okay, so the other report that I wanted to talk about is this one. So it's the layoffs. So I just want to take a deep dive into which companies have been having layoffs. And then also I did want to talk about companies that are actually hiring in mass right now. So I'm going to pull this up. I'm just going to talk through it. So the article says layoffs latest, companies making cuts. Layoffs, hiring freezes, and rescinded job offers. We talked about the rescinded job offers. We talked about Coinbase being the main one. We talked about Twitter, like they extended offers. And what were they supposed to do? Honestly, it sounds like a terrible scenario, of course, for the person being affected. However, they were in a tricky situation. They overhired, honestly, especially given the quick change in the crypto markets. So anyway, those are some companies that did that. It has rolled oil, what does it say? Have roiled? I don't know what that means. I'm just going to say rolled over the tech industry and the startup community for several months. So fintech, tech, ton of startups got that funding. The funding wasn't there, right? Slow down in those spaces. So yes, they had to kind of look at their budgets and say, okay, we can't hire so quickly. We can't hire so many people. So this has been happening pretty much all summer. Now companies across multiple sectors are making staff cuts as executives worry about a possible recession and weigh all manner of adverse near-term effects on their businesses. So despite the mounting signs of economic trouble, CNBC notes that overall employer demand for workers remains extremely high. That is true. It's balanced. So if one company lays off people, another company is trying to pick them up. That layoffs are near historical lows. So the year's layoffs, I'm just going to name off some of the companies that have been doing the most with layoffs. Jam City is a video game developer. Then we have Dutchy. This is not listed on here, but Dutchy is they're in the cannabis space. Walmart had layoffs. I just recently saw that. They actually laid off 200 corporate employees. So that's affecting, the office folks, the ones in the cushy, they're just sitting down, not, doing any manual labor, right? So they were cutting in areas like merchandising and real estate. That could be a sign given real estate, what are they doing? They're scoping out different properties, they're expanding their, if we build a store, how many stores we want to build over here on the East Coast versus West Coast, they're managing all those operations. If they're cutting in real estate, that to me makes me think that they're not going to be expanding their stores. That's my thought. We had Robinhood laid off 23% of its staff. Oracle, I just spoke with someone actually from Oracle. So yeah, they've had layoffs. They haven't said a specific number. Vox Media laid off 39 employees. I actually used to work at Vox Media, so that's obviously sad to hear. I was worried about that. It has its fourth round of staff cuts since the start of 2018, so that's terrible. But it's not a ton, right? But yes, 39 people. A couple of Canadian companies made cuts. E-commerce platforms Shopify. Oh, I did not know that news. So Shopify, which I actually reported over here that Shopify was doing a ton of hiring. What was that, 2021, 2020? They were hiring like crazy. But they're laying off about 1,000 employees, and that's a Canada-based company, and that is 10% of its workforce. Wow. That's actually a little surprising. Hello, sorry, I'm not looking at the chat. Hello, Edward. Shout out to my member and moderator. Adrian says, I have been hearing about hiring freezes too. Yes, there have been a lot of hiring freezes happening. Hey, Gamer Bro, if you're still in here. CCM1, hello, how are you? I like your dress. Okay, thank you for liking my dress. I appreciate it. I'm sorry. I don't think I've heard. I don't think I've seen that comment before. But thank you. So, Clearco, which I haven't even heard of, that's another startup. Envision, Whoop is laying off 15% of its staff. Now that's in wearable tech. Wearable tech. I mean, I feel like we saw with Fitbit, wearable tech seemed to have been dying. I actually was invested in Fitbit, and then I got out of that because I was seeing the turn down, basically. So I don't know if that will have a revival, but that's not really a space that I personally think I would imagine that it's growing. So that's just me. 7-Eleven, 7-Eleven has laid off around 880, again, corporate employees. Again, so those sitting in the cushy office, right? Yes, I'm not saying anything against corporate jobs. I have a corporate job, right? But they're not the ones doing the manual labor, right? I'm not doing manual labor. So that's a clear distinction, because oftentimes corporate functions, that's to keep everything running, not really the money makers, right? It's overhead. It's like we want to make sure we're not getting sued. We want to make sure logistics keep running. We want to make process improvements. We want to do this, that, and whatever. So when that's getting cut, that makes me wonder, right? If there will be a lot of growth in that company. I really do. Ford plans to cut. They plan to cut as many as 8,000 jobs, mostly in its gas-fueled vehicle division. Now that's by the sources Bloomberg. Asurion is that company that gives those packages where you get a phone through, I don't know, Verizon or AT&T, and then they ask you if you want insurance, and that's that company. So it's a Nashville-based global tech services company. It laid off 750 employees and also cut about 300 workers prior to that. So this might be a trend for them. Capsule is another New York-based tech firm. Vero, a digital-based company. People.ai. So a ton of tech companies have had to reel it in. Again, I think a large part of that is just because of the funding, right? The funding may not be there. They've got, people are kind of reassessing. Are you profitable? Are startups going to be profitable? No, you're not profitable. We got to pull the money. Sorry, we're sorry, but we can't do it. We're afraid about a recession. We can't. Interest rates are hiking. We can't do it. That's what I'm. That's literally the story that gets painted when you start looking at the specific companies that have been having more of the layoffs. There was a genetic testing firm, Invitae. They laid off 1,000 employees, 40% of its workforce. You got Victoria's Secret. Hey, you guys, I've been invested in Victoria's Secret. There was a split or something between the company that owns Victoria's Secret and I think it's Limited Brands and Bath and Body Works. So I have a little bit of knowledge there. I just assumed they were going through a lot of trouble. Victoria's Secret hasn't been as profitable anyway. So I mean, come on, you got Rihanna giving them a lot of competition and some other brands. So they laid off about 160 managers as a part of their restructuring. That makes sense. So who knows? I won't say it's over for them. I won't say it's over for VS, but who knows? Who knows what the future may lead to? I do still see people going into the stores. I will say that. I mean, every time I mean, there's people in there, but it's not. I will say, at least here in Texas, it's not as popular in my view. Like normally on a Saturday, like that Victoria's Secret, Bath and Body Works, like they're gonna be packed. Bath and Body Works is packed, but Victoria's Secret is not. Then we got Chow now. We got Tonal, which is a Peloton competitor. Peloton had layoffs as well. So Tonal laid off 35% of its staff. You got Lunchbox, you got Hopin, a lot of startups. Then we have the electric car maker Rivian. They said they're cutting hundreds after conceding to it grew too fast. And I said that in a couple of videos back. I said all these companies, they're hiring too fast. Like they just overhired. That is why they're having to do this. If some of the companies and their leadership had taken more of the time to really assess their growth, how quickly they're growing, what their actual needs are, what their staff is in place, what they're doing, maybe they still would have had to make cuts, but it probably wouldn't have been as much. But what it felt like in 2021 and earlier this year was just this rush. Oh my God, we need people. Everyone's suffering. We need people. We got to get people. It's time. This is now, which I get because of the demands that were happening because no one could do anything in 2020. So not everyone could do anything. It's like, oh, we're free. We got savings. We're ready to spend it, right? I mean, come on, we're in the US, so we got that itch to spend. So I get that, but at the same time, it's like, the reason why you're getting all this demand, it's not gonna last forever. Anyway, just my view. Edward says Netflix is also laying off. Yes, I've talked to a couple of folks at Netflix, but I will say, with the digital and media companies, they yes, layoffs have happened, but there's a percentage of those layoffs that are like contractors. Like they're getting rid of some of the temporary workers or not bringing back freelancers. And yes, layoffs with their full-time staff, but there's a little bit of that too, because within the entertainment space, there's so many projects that are happening. And then once a project wraps up, unless there's another one that, more work that you can get on, well, you may have to go. So I think I do feel like with Netflix, that's going to be consistent to some angle, but they did remember we talked about it, Edward, when Netflix was losing all of those subscribers, right? Because now they've been the leader in the subscription-based model when it comes to content, but now everyone has a subscription. I mean, even YouTubers now, the large YouTubers have their subscription. So it's just getting to be subscription crazy. Like, I mean, who has money to buy all these subscriptions? I know I'm not paying for all of that. Thank you, Edward. Yes, please do hit the like button if you like the video. Hello, Sharky. Welcome. Nice to see you. Let me see. Let me know what you think about all of this. So, in terms of hiring, though, let me see if I got through the list because I didn't say every company, but I tried to touch on all of them or most of them. So, you have Next Insurance, you have GameStop. Remember GameStop? Everyone was hyped up on GameStop because of their stock shooting up because of that whole Reddit thing. Sharky, you may know more about that. Fill me in on the Reddit stuff, but my understanding was all the retail shoppers were like saying we're gonna stick it to the man and we're just gonna make this, make this go up, make the stock go up because we're going to pool together and invest and drive that stock price up, even though folks are kind of counting out GameStop. So, anyway, a lot of larger investments. That was like just a whole entire mess. But it sounds like this is the second video game company that has announced layoffs. Um, and their financial officer left the company or is leaving the company. Wow. Twitter laid off about one third of its talent acquisition team. That hurts me being a recruiter. But actually, a lot of those folks were able to get jobs quickly though, because Twitter is in the tech space. And I will tell you, if you're a recruiter, if you're thinking about becoming a recruiter, if you get into the tech space and you get to work for a top tech company, like, any of the FANG companies, of course, Twitter, Snapchat, whatever, any of the big ones, competitors, you're likely going to get snatched up because one, those companies are likely going to train you really well and their interview processes are pretty extensive. So they're likely getting the best of the best in terms of talent. So, talent acquisition, here's the thing. When certain industries they're slowing down hiring, other places are hiring, en masse, they're growing. So it's never just like a stop all over the place in every industry. So you always kind of have to keep in mind, okay, in different time periods, who's growing, who's receding, who's who's slowing down their growth, right? Okay, so that's pretty much it. And I do just want to shout out the fact that San Francisco was the area that had the most amount of layoffs because they have the startup. That's the startup hub, right? Okay, so on the flip side of that, who is hiring? Now, the two companies that are coming to mind immediately for me are going to be, and yes, I'm being biased here for a reason, are going to be Amazon, Audible, and also, even though Meta had a hiring freeze, I've still seen Meta hiring as well. So just putting that out there. What are the other folks that are hiring? Healthcare is hiring. Airlines are hiring like crazy. Everyone's been trying to travel, right? And so a lot of the airline companies have had to replenish their staff and they're still struggling to hire people. So any of the airlines are hiring. Um, Let me see. I talked about healthcare. Pretty much anything healthcare based is likely hiring. Tesla is still hiring. I'm a little bit surprised, but I'm not surprised at the same time. And then your banking industries, your Wells Fargo, your Discover, Visa, they've also been hiring, as well as Verizon. Yeah, so those are some of the ones I have listed in terms of just hiring in general. They don't seem to be slowing down overall. So that's what I got. And then I want to talk about the last thing. I want to talk about this $400,000 assistant job. I have to talk about this. So let me pull it up. This one I do want to pull up for just a second so you can see what I see in terms of this whole assistant thing, because I don't think, even though these folks can be highly paid, I didn't realize how highly paid, but they can be really highly paid for their work. I just don't know if I personally would do it. So this is the story here. Hopefully you can see it. $400,000 to be an assistant, right? So they're saying being an executive assistant take some serious talent and knowledge. One might need to know all about the NASDAQ, another should probably consider becoming a sommelier, while making sure the boss's favorite vintage is on the chartered jet, and still another must love dogs. In this tight labor market, that's why getting a job as an EA could pay upwards of $400,000 according to the Wall Street Journal. They're willing to pay those salaries, but it's really all about them. So that's coming from an executive assistant recruiter. So I want to get into the article from Wall Street Journal. I'm going to take this away for a second, or I might just take it down just because it's annoying. So what does this article like actually talk about? So it's actually highlighting this. I want to show you this image just because it's kind of cute and I like it. So I'm going to share it. Let's see. So it's the Wall Street Journal. So I feel like it's legit. I've done some other looking into these jobs, and I've also recruited for similar jobs. And I do know that you can get paid well as an executive assistant. So this is the actual article by the Wall Street Journal. Paying $400,000 from an executive assistant. Do it all aides are pricier than ever. Wealthy executives are shelling out six figures for sophisticated aides, smart enough to handle complicated tasks, yet humble enough to take on tedious ones. So before we get into this, though, I do just want to highlight, I'm going to put this in the chat. I do want to highlight this. Listen, I feel like you have to have a really tough skin to do this job and really deal with some weird personalities and be comfortable seeing things that you won't see on a day-to-day basis, right? By the way, do you like my image of Rihanna back here? This is an Amazon purchase, a random Amazon purchase. I bought Rihanna and I also bought Aaliyah. I bought two Aaliyah frames and I bought this canvas because I didn't plan on putting it right here. I want to actually put it somewhere in my apartment, but I don't know. I thought it fit because she's definitely a boss babe, and so I was feeling it. Anyway, that's Rihanna. Just FYI. Okay, so I feel like you have to have really tough skin to do this type of job, and it's not just executives that would be an assistant that are really high paying, but you could be like a celebrity assistant, which I definitely don't think I would do unless it's a particular person. It's like it would have to be like a B list or C list celebrity, maybe. Maybe they wouldn't be quite as demanding. I don't know. But you could be a celebrity assistant, you could be an executive assistant, which means you'll be supporting a specific, senior executive at an entertainment company or whatever company, right? And then you could also be an assistant for a wealthy family. So there's elite families, billionaires, millionaires that want someone to manage their house staff, like, the chef and the maid and the whatever. They want someone to manage it. They don't want to think about anything. And then they want you to book their private jet. They want you to manage their fleet of expensive cars. They want you to basically be on call for whatever their needs are. It kind of reminds me of that movie with Meryl Streep with the girl, Anne Hathaway's character, and she was just doing whatever, getting coffee, getting these weird things, getting stuff for her kids, getting this random Harry Potter book because of her kids, and just taking her on these random random tasks. That is what I literally imagine for the assistants. And then of course with executive assistants, that could be a random amount of things too, because you're kind of their person. Like you make my life easier, whatever that means, right? So this is not like an office assistant. They're not going to be, paid at this level. They're not going to be serving their, whatever their needs are. It's more of a high end type of experience. And I actually almost joined a company that basically had these type of services where they were concierge and they managed the elite folks, and I was going to be a recruiter hiring people that would work within this company. But yeah, that was my first kind of foray into the space of just luxury assistants and how it could be a thriving, this thriving space where you can make a lot of money. So, okay, so let's get into the article. I do want to look into this because I haven't read the full article. So they're saying in the penthouse of society, there's a crisis, no one to charter the jet, too few aides with the versatility to navigate earnings reports along with a wine list. And for heaven's sake, who is going to scoop the papillion poop? Look, I'm not scooping up. No, no. But again, like for the assistant, you have to have that type of attitude, like you're willing to do whatever. Fifi pooped on the sofa, you're taking care of it, right? Some people are not doing that. They're just not going to do it, no matter what you pay them. So this says the labor shortage afflicting many businesses is also disrupting the affairs of ultra high net worth individuals who the old lament, good help is hard to find, has seldom been so true. In search of executive assistants, equally adept at preparing for board meetings and managing housekeepers and chauffeurs, many are asking staffing services to recruit for a loftier title, chief of staff. So this chief of staff is the person that manages the staff, basically. Not to be confused with a chief of staff in terms of HR or human resources. That's different because you could see a chief of staff that basically leads a talent development group within a company, and they're not doing any of this, of course. But I think that's why there's always these shifts in job titles with talent development. There's so many different titles that I've seen since I've even been working. I'm sure even before I started into the industry, but just want to make that clear. So they're saying it is a job that demands a rare combination of competence and humility, of course, because you have to do all these random things. One agency told me about placing someone who holds a PhD in a role that involves high level administrative work and fetching coffee. Can you imagine telling someone, okay, they're applying to this job out of college, they have a PhD in, I don't know, data science or something, and you're like, okay, so the job duties could be anything. You're going to have to handle their reports, you're going to have to build dashboards for their leadership meetings, and then you're also going to have to get them coffee, make sure their clothes are ready, make sure their dog is taken to the groomer, like random things, right? So it's really this hogwash of you just need to take care of that person, basically. Can you imagine telling that to someone that has a PhD? You just have your PhD. I know you have a PhD, sir, but I'm gonna need you to scoop up Fifi's. You're gonna need to scoop up Fifi's poop. Sorry. So it's an interesting job. It's definitely interesting. So they did highlight one agency told basically a scenario of this person that they have a PhD and it's in a role that involves high level administrative work and fetching coffee. The going rate for such overqualified aides is about $200,000 a year. Now, these are in major cities like New York and LA. Staffing specialists say those with records are making the busiest lives simpler. Like you have experience, you've been here before, you got this. They can command as much as $300,000 or even $400,000 a year. Basically, to just be your boss's on call, like 24/7, I need you, whatever person. So that girl, that assistant Anne Hathaway played in, what is the name of that movie? The Devil Wears Prada. So in The Devil Wears Prada movie, that girl, she could have been getting paid, I don't know, $300,000 to be an assistant because I think they were in New York. So you can get paid to do that. They're willing to pay those salaries, but it's really all about them, says Teresa Lee, whose firm scouts top tier assistants for the uber wealthy. So with great pay comes great sacrifice. Now, this is something I wanted to note out because yes, if you're going to be someone's on-call person, how are you going to have a boyfriend or girlfriend, husband and a wife, children, a pet, plants, just anything like outside activities, hobbies, trips that you want to take, your dreams and aspirations. Like, no, you're probably not going to have time for that because you're trying to, if you're a good assistant, you're likely going to be thinking ahead so that you can make this person's life easier. Oh, your nephew's such and such event is coming up, or your son's whatever event is coming up. I got to plan for them and I got to do this for them. Being in their head and sometimes even managing their communications and knowing how they talk and all of that. It's very interesting. It's an interesting job from that angle, right? But at the same time, who is willing to make that sacrifice? So if you're whenever there's a job where a person has to make a lot of sacrifices or you need a high amount of talent or ability or knowledge, whatever, of course you're going to have to pay the price. I'm going to just pause. I want to see the comment from Sharky. Hi, Smart Aviation. Shout out to Smart Aviation, of course. We got to highlight the channel. Sharkfin Tech says The Devil Wears Prada. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I was like, what is this movie? What is it? I know it. I actually really like that movie. So The Devil Wears Prada. I accidentally walked into that movie when my ticket was for The Departed. The Departed. I know Leonardo DiCaprio was in that movie. I don't think I ever watched it. I don't know if it's my cup of tea. The Devil Wears Prada, I normally wouldn't even watch either, but I think it was just because Anne Hathaway and Meryl Streep was in it. I like Meryl Streep a lot, and I like Anne Hathaway. Needless to say, I left to watch The Ladder. Martin Scorsese directed and won the Oscar for it. Oh, really? Interesting. Yeah, I don't know anything about that Departed movie. I should apply for one of those jobs. I mean, here's the thing. So I'm talking it up. I'm saying it's really cool. You get that money, ching ching, and probably for someone that's in a place like Hawaii, you might need that extra money because it's expensive. Um, there are downsides, right? There's definitely a dark side. You can't have the good without the bad. So they're saying in here, with great pay comes great sacrifice. Some hires quit within 72 hours. And I bet the reason for that is because you have to have really tough skin. Imagine working with someone that is used to just hearing yes, 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 sir, yes, ma'am, right? Or working with wealthy families that they've never had to hear no in their life, right? They just have people to just do it, right? Or for celebrity assistants, they have, they have lives that have a lot of pressure, right? So they're gonna, if they are stressed out, they've gotta release that energy somewhere. They're likely not gonna want to release it to their family. That's probably gonna come out to the assistant. And that's a key reason why I don't think I would do that job. I don't need anyone yelling at me. I don't want a toxic work environment because oftentimes folks that even work at startups and things, they would like to work at a larger company because there's a little more structure. There's checks and balances in place. They're making sure, employees are happy. They're not working in a toxic workplace. People can't just throw computers around or do any weird instances to make it, a workplace is just not comfortable. So if you think about a small business or family or, anything like that, where you're just working with one person or a small group of people, who knows what's going on, right? That's my view. I can imagine the personalities. Like, could you really do that, Sharky? Like, you got to tell me, would you really? Like, we're going to talk through the downside, but would you really do that job thinking about all that you have to deal with? For me, I just like, I like having a soft life. Like, I just don't want the stress. I don't think I could do it. Sharky says, Jess, The Departed is fantastic and well worth your time. Can't go wrong with a combination of Jack Nicholson, Matt Damon, Martin Sheen, and Mark Wahlberg. I'm trying to think of what these people look like. Jack Nicholson was in that scary movie. Matt Damon. I do like Matt Damon. I watched all of the Born Supremacy movies. Martin Sheen, I don't know who that is. I think that's the dad of Charlie Sheen, right? Mark Wahlberg is the one from Transformers. Leonardo DiCaprio, I do like. I think he's a great actor. And Scors I can't picture them either. I don't know. I maybe I will watch it. I don't know. I would have to need a reason to watch that one. I really would. Let me see. So this is what she's saying. Some hires quit within 72 hours of being an executive assistant, owing to the unpredictable schedule. Again, you're 24/7 you're on call. So if someone, let's say I'm an assistant to Jeff Bezos, and he calls me at 5 a.m. and is like, Jessica, I need Starbucks right now. You gotta get up and you got I mean, you gotta go get it. I don't know why I'm using him as an example. Or Elon Musk, right? Elon Musk says, "Hey, I need this piece of artwork from this place. It opens at 7 a.m. I need you to get that, and then I need you to handle my kids this, and then I need you to review this report for me. Then, this evening I'm gonna go to an event. I need you to get me a car, and then I need you to be there with me at the event, helping me remember everybody's name. And this, like, who knows? It's like, would you really want that life? I don't know. Some people would live for it because what you would get is, I'm sure, plenty of mentorship. You get to see them day in, day out, um, and really get a sense of the business space. I'm sure you're learning from them directly, right? So there's that. That's like a really big plus factor, is just to be in the midst of everything that they do. Who else could get that experience? So that's a plus side. So Miss Lee says they have a rigorous travel, an endless to-do list, unpredictable schedule, sense of loneliness. Because again, how in the world are you going to have friendships thriving and family relationships thriving, and have a pet, have hobbies, if you're married to this person basically, because you're really serving their every need. um it says that it can set in when someone is close to but distinctly separate from an elite class of people. Yeah, you're not a part of this world. You have to, support them, but that's not your lifestyle. Miss Lee says she tries to get employers to agree to limits on what the people she places can be asked to do. Serving martinis like a butler or cleaning dog do off a roof deck. Real requests from clients, she says, fall outside of chief of staff duties in her view. Just about anything else is fair game. Hmm. Several factors combine to create a fantastic market in which do it all assistants are extra pricey and ripe for poaching, according to those that do these jobs to earn commission. So it sounds like they have a lot of poaching happening. So poaching is recruiters looking at this agency. They know this agency hires top-notch executive assistants, so they need to get someone from here, right? And then once they get that person from there, then this company, they're going to do the same thing to another agency, basically. That happens a lot with FANG companies. We got to have someone for Amazon. Well, we pull someone from Amazon. Oh, well, we got to get someone from Netflix. We'll pull someone from Netflix. We got to get someone from Google. And then we got to get someone from Meta. Like, it's this endless kind of cycle. The same thing happens within the media industry, right? The same thing happens within the celebrity and entertainment space. It's just kind of this endless cycle. Sometimes, not every job, but you know, that's kind of the ideal scenarios. We got someone from this top-notch place as our competitor and yada yada. Anyway, so they hire folks for these jobs. They earn commission, sometimes 30 to 40% of an aide's salary. Now that's key in the recruitment world. If you're working in an agency, and this is why agency recruiters, I keep saying, they make bank in comparison to corporate recruiters, because corporate recruiters, we're going to have a salary. some jobs, like I've been in a job before where I had a salary and then I had bonus pay on top of that, which was, woo, I missed that setup. I missed that setup um, a little bit. And then, there's the staffing agency side where you place someone, they're making, let's say I place an executive assistant, they're making $350,000. Well, then I'm going to get 40% of that, or 30% of that, or 20% of that, whatever that number is, right? So recruiting is a really cool industry to be in. And it's fun. It's like it's matchmaking in my head. So by filling the job, you can get that percentage. So they're saying certain secretarial tasks, once performed by executive assistants, like answering phones, shuffling papers, can be automatic. It's digital. Like you see the virtual assistants and things. There's so much you can digitize now. That has led to a steep drop in numbers of these positions because imagine that's what people want to do, right? People are fine with being in office, shuffling some papers around, checking your schedule, booking your stuff online. But outside of that, they want to have their life. They want to be able to log off at 5 or 6 or whatever and, okay, see you tomorrow. Don't call me. Adios. I don't want to hear from you. I will see you tomorrow. I'll be bright and early, ready to work. But, this is my time now, which, yes, I agree with. You would need some balance. But with an executive assistant, are you really going to get a lot of that balance is the question. Okay, so they're also saying those that remain in the industries are increasingly advanced. Now, this is another staffing firm person. They're at Robert Half. That's a great staffing firm. Multi-million-dollar earners, always highly mobile or even less tethered to offices in the Rona age. They want right-hand helpers who can dart from professional to personal matters with ease and with the most utmost discretion. So yeah, you're going to sign non-disclosures. Beyonce talked about that. You got to sign a non-disclosure, right? Shortly before the pandemic, another executive assistant, this one is Alyssa Akio, they left a job that included ordering stationery, stocking the office fridge with Diet Dr. Pepper, the boss's favorite. She now works remotely as a senior executive assistant at Upwork, a freelance network, and is free from such menial tasks. I mean, honestly, stocking a fridge and ordering stationery doesn't sound that bad compared to what someone could be doing, right? That sounds pretty normal to me. And most office assistants are going to do that. So she says she feels more like a business partner to her executive, offering input on certain projects, and she outsources shopping to Amazon and Instacart. That seems like more of a professional job, right? That sounds like something that requires more intellectual capability, right? Let me see what you guys are saying. Sharky says, Jess, you might be right. Can't put a price on our dignity. Right. Did you see the movie The Upside? It's similar in a way to what you're describing. The Upside. No, what is The Upside about? I've never heard of that. I would check it out. If it's similar to this conversation, definitely. Working as an assistant for Elon Musk would be difficult. I can't even imagine that scenario. However, I think working with someone that is, ahead of whatever is a creative type or is a, entrepreneur, I think that could be worthwhile, even if you told yourself, like, hey, I'm just going to do this job for 6 months and learn everything I can, be the best assistant I can be, and form a good relationship with this person and see where this gets me. A lot of times with the executive assistants, especially in the entertainment space, that's kind of that stepping stone for someone to move into being like a producer or doing something else, right? They want to learn from someone that has a entertainment group or marketing group or whatever. They want to learn as much as they can. And even if they have to do, whatever task, it's fine, whatever. I'm learning, I'm growing, I'm getting inside knowledge. I am this person's right-hand man. There's a little bit of prestige that comes with that, right? So that would be the upside. And I've seen that just in my work as a recruiter and working with other like executive assistants. There's kind of that prestige that comes with it. I'm their assistant. You have to float everything through me, yada yada, and all of that stuff. So, Sharky says Kevin Hart plays an ex-con who goes to work as a personal assistant to a. Oh, really? Yeah, I don't really. I'll tell you the truth. I don't really like Kevin Hart. I remember watching maybe one of his first or second stand-ups, and I thought it was funny mainly because the faces that he would make, and, the stories were kinda funny, but with his acting, like, when I see him in movies, I'm not really very impressed. It's not like, trying to think of a good example of some other comedians that were good. Like, when Steve Harvey I remember when I was a kid, I watched the Steve Harvey Show. My mom and I loved that show. He was funny on, like, I could see him being funny, like, if he were to be in a movie now, I feel like he would be funny. Um, what is his name? Bernie Mac, I felt like was funny in movies and TV, but Kevin Hart just doesn't do it for me, I don't know, it's weird, but the stand-up I like, so that's probably why I didn't see that movie. I would've if I saw him on something, I would just glaze over it, like, "No, thanks. We're good here. Moving along." But, if you're saying it's funny, if it's funny, I might, test it out. I'll test it out. But I normally just don't like him for some it's something about him that just doesn't really correlate with me. Anyway. Okay, I love the little very glitzy images they have in this article, by the way. So this is the question they asked this person. Could she ever go back to the occasional tedium of aiding someone in person? This is what this lady said. She's 29 years old. She just said, I don't think so. Finding millennials and Gen Zers to replace aging assistants. Yeah, because some folks are retiring. So how are they going to find people? That's proving to be a challenge. So they're saying they've heard younger people say, I would never do what you do. This is from Tiffany Mon, a 51-year-old executive assistant to a CEO of a consulting group. It's almost like they don't understand working in a service capacity for another human being. As long as it's legal, as long as it's safe, there's never a no. See, like again, working with someone that is not even used to hearing the word no, I think will rub me some kind of way. Um, and even what they're saying, as long as it's legal, as long as it's safe, there's never a no. So if they're like, hey, I spilled coffee on my shoe, get down there and clean it, like, would that be like, is that something you would have to do? I don't know. So that's my whole scenario. I think just having clear lines of what my responsibilities are, where I'm flexible and where I'm not flexible as an assistant. Like calling me after 10 p.m., right? Calling me before 6 a.m. or calling me before 7 a.m. Asking me to clean something or I don't know. What else would be really demeaning? Like, just the weird tasks, right? Just weird things. But, like, ordering coffee, honestly, you can order coffee and have it delivered now, so that's fine, "Okay, well, just know you're gonna have these delivery fees." Ordering food, it's not like you have to go get the food, depending on where it's from. I can imagine, though, working with a elite person, they may want food that's from places that don't deliver because your high-end restaurants, from my view, many of them do not deliver. And what if they're not on DoorDash? Like, what do? You have to go get it. So I don't know. That's interesting to me. So Miss Mon says she's aided executives and wealthy families for more than 2 decades. Okay, hands up for that. And says she takes pride in making bosses she admires happier and more efficient. She describes a career path that is alternately exhilarating and humbling. See, they keep talking about humbling. Like, what do you have to do? Like, that makes me, they're not saying the meaning, but I do question if she's like, what are you doing? Like, why do you keep saying humbling? Like, what is the humbling part about this? What do you have to do? And then they're saying there are yachts and parties and times when she feels like a confidant and a senior advisor. There's also been scoldings for spelling errors, 3 a.m. phone calls, 3 a.m. phone calls, and hands and knees attempt to fix leaky faucets on vacation homes. Okay, seriously, Sharky, can you imagine me working with someone and them saying, "Oh, you got to fix my sink; it's leaking." And they're like, "What? I don't know what to do." I would be one of those people probably. Okay, I'm gonna have to end this job. I'm so sorry, so sorry. I don't know if I can do that. That would be where I would draw the line, I think. So Sharky says, I'm not a huge Hart fan either. He was very good in the upside. Really? I'm over here I'm like, I don't believe you. I don't believe it. It's not really a comedy per se, although there are a few running. Oh, okay, okay. As long as it's not like he's trying to be funny, I guess I could go along with it. I've never really seen him act, so who knows? I might check it out. Might is in all caps. I might check it out. You probably surprised what I'm watching on television, honestly. I watch everything in terms of just what I'm interested in. I don't care if it's like risque, like I'll watch and explore different shows. So right now I'm watching something. I just finished a series on Stars. That's a little, it's a little interesting. It's got all kinds of things happening in it, but normally I like to see action. Like I need to be quick, fast paced. Otherwise, I'm gonna move on to something else and watch that instead. Okay, so to close this out, she also recalls one episode where her former employer chastised her two other assistants, each of whom were making more than $150,000 a year. She says for putting bananas in the refrigerator instead of in the kitchen counter. First of all, who puts bananas in the refrigerator? Where are they doing that at? Who puts bananas in the refrigerator? I wouldn't get upset with someone doing that, but I would question their mindset, like, why did you do this? Is there something that I'm missing here? Um, I've never actually seen anyone do that. Is that a thing? Do people put bananas in the refrigerator? I've never seen that ever. Um, I don't even eat bananas, but I know not to put them into the refrigerator. So anyway, that was one thing. Miss Mon says she hopes to retire with her current boss, so she's often invited to interview for positions that will pay $200,000 plus bonus, becoming a chief of staff, which she describes as the holy grail title for executive assistants, and and could take her earnings to another level. Okay, interesting. I don't know. They said there's one big difference. Managing partner or private staffing group says clients are paying premiums of 45% to 65% over the salaries of executive assistants, which can push chief of staff compensation well above $300,000. Interesting. So the conveys, that title conveys importance, as it's an increasingly popular way to woo candidates with advanced degrees or professional experience. Okay, so I have an issue with that because, yeah, you're saying chief of staff, and it sounds good, but I think it can be confused with a chief of staff like over an HR department, first of all. And then also, if they're still having to do menial tasks, what's the point of putting this fancy title on it? Because at the end of the day, you have to explain to them like, "Hey, this is what you're gonna do." I don't agree with that. I don't like when, folks put these different titles out there. I know it's hard sometimes to title certain jobs, especially if it's new, to get exactly what you're meaning and what the specifications are of what the person would do if they got that job. But to just put a title out there just because it's going to woo the talent, but it's not really what it is. It sounds like if they're still having to kind of be, they have to do everything, right? I don't know. Anyway, so a lot of people are saying it was a good line of work. Um, there's another person, Marta Baranowska, said she was elevated to chief of staff after several years in a recent job, but left in search for new challenge. She would like to try serving European royalty. Wow, so you could work for European royalty. Okay, well, I'm guessing any royalty, but I'm guessing the Queen, right? Living in London for now, she possesses a diplomat's cosmopolitanism, 5 languages, and ability to be firm yet friendly. You should never ask a lady about her age, she replied when I made a standard reporter's inquiry. What? In truth, she's accustomed to answering personal questions while interviewing, such as whether she has children or other family obligations that might divide her attention. So during interviews, they may ask someone, do you have a family or do you have anything that may take away your attention? See, you can't really have anything. You can't have hobbies and friends and family. See, that I don't think I'd get on board with again. So the corporate world's human resources policies don't always apply. I imagine if you gotta ask the person, "Hey, are you okay with cleaning up poop?" Like, that's not really that's not really something you can ask, or, "Hey, do you have any kids?" That's not something you ask in an interview, right? "Are you married?" You can't ask that during the interview. With, obviously, employers, we have certain policies in place because the reason why is, 1, obviously, companies don't want to get sued. We don't want someone going to the EEOC and filing an employment complaint and saying they were discriminated against because they were asked in an interview, were they married? They said yes, and that's why they think they didn't get the job. So they don't want those type of scenarios happening. And then 2, it makes for just a bad scenario. It makes for a bad interview conversation. Now the person's on edge, probably wondering why did they ask me about that? And I told you, you all know my story. I was asked, "What's my religion?" during an interview, and the person immediately was like, "Oh, I shouldn't have asked that." And it's like, "No, you shouldn't." No, just really awkward. And if you are ever asked a question like that, you can tell them, like, I'm not comfortable sharing that. And it may give you a little insight into maybe the person's just uncomfortable, maybe they don't know they can't ask that, but then also it may give you a little tie into the company and their culture and if they have policies in place and that sort of thing. But of course, here they can kind of ask you whatever it sounds like. Um, I get headhunted a lot, especially this year, she says. The salary is great. You get to travel the world and you learn a lot. Like I was saying, you probably just get to see and do more than you may have ever imagined. So I get it. I get the draw to it, but I also see the downside. Sharky says Brian Cranston, the star of Breaking Bad, plays the handicapped billionaire. I have not watched Breaking Bad. I'm probably the only one of the few people that have not watched it. I just haven't watched it. I just haven't really had the desire to. Um, Ted said, "Be kind." Also, forget the upside. Watch the original, The Untouchables. Okay, Ted. So, hey, Sharky, Ted is saying the upside is not where it's at. The upside may not be where it's at. I don't listen. I just don't like Kevin Hart that much. Nothing against him. I just don't get the hype on him. I don't. Like, I would rather watch, like, an older, um, movie with, what's his name? I just talked about him. Bernie Mac. I'd rather watch something with Bernie Mac in it, honestly. Um, or even Eddie Murphy. Certain movies, like a Harlem Nights or something like that. Like, he he he's a decent actor and everything, and he can make you laugh, I think. But Kevin Hart, it's hit or miss. Ted says those church jobs be asking those questions, especially in Dallas. You know what? The place I interviewed at, it was affiliated with Christianity, and I know that's why they asked me that question. But I'm like, no, you're not about to ask me that question. No. And I'm, you just can't, no. I didn't really have an issue. I knew the person was, they realized the error of their way. They knew they weren't really supposed to ask that. But I don't know. I just thought, to this day, I just think it's funny, and it made the person so awkward. It made them so awkward. But anyway, it's fine. I didn't accept that job opportunity, but because I for a couple of reasons. Ted, settle down, young man. Ted, settle down, young man. That's funny. They asked, "Tell me your story, Scott. Hope you were safe." I have no idea what you all are talking about. How you were saved. Sorry. Wait. Tell me, Ted. What? I don't know what you're talking about. Tell me how you were saved. Oh, at the church in a church interview. Goodness, I would not. I'm going to tell you, I am a good interviewer. However, if I was interviewing at a church and being, my normal self, like just, I don't think I would get, they wouldn't give me the job. Because here's the thing, you all know my stance in terms of, church operations and their messaging to people and just the whole thing. And so they wouldn't like my questions. Like in my head, I think that it would be a conversation I have with my mom where she said something, I asked her a question, and I'm the bad guy all of a sudden. And I'm like, okay, well, talk to you later, mom. Love you. Love you too. All right, good night. Um, because I will have questions. I'll be like, why are you doing this? What are you doing that for? Why are you telling your congregation these demeaning things? Why are you being so negative to your congregation, telling them they're not worthy and telling them this and that? Like I would I would have questions. What are you doing with this tide money? What are you doing with the offering? What's the pastor doing over there with that girl? Yeah, I would have too many questions. I wouldn't survive the job. They'd be like, we have to get rid of this girl. We gotta get rid of her. She's asking too many questions. She wants to know too much. She's a skeptic. Yeah, no, I would not make it. In I think in most churches, not all of them are like that. Um, Not all, but a lot are are doing a little bit much, as we have seen in the media, like all the news reports coming out. Like, I feel like every couple months there's a pastor in the news for doing something crazy and wild, or there's this church scandal, and there's some scam happening. Like, anyway, that's a whole nother conversation. So, those are my topics for tonight, y'all. Those are my topics. We had to talk about the jobs report, which was actually positive in some ways for now. Again, I think these reports are kind of delayed because what the reports are saying versus what people are feeling are totally different things. So we'll have to keep checking in with people and seeing how people feel about the job market. Sometimes it's not so much about what the numbers are and what's actually going on, but about how do people feel. Do you feel rich today? Okay, well, maybe we're not going to go into a recession. Do you feel poor today? Oh, well, we might be going into a recession. I don't, it's more about feeling. Do I feel comfortable spending? Do I feel, comfortable in my job? Do I feel comfortable that if I leave my job, I can get a new one pretty quick? So we talked about that. We talked about the array, just the list of companies that have been doing layoffs. A lot of them in the startup space, a lot of them in tech, a lot of these companies that just overhired. They were, you know, reeling in the money, reeling in the investments, and then, they're not profitable. So got to reel back the money and pause the hiring and slow some stuff down and put some things in check, right? Kind of like You have your budget. You get someone a credit card and they're like, "Charge it, spend it," and then they get that bill and they're like, "Oh, okay, next month, I guess we can't do that," right? And then we talked about the executive assistant, right? You can make $400,000, up to $400,000, $300,000, $200,000. The lowest number that we saw listed was $150,000 as an executive assistant, as an elite assistant, as a celebrity assistant, as an assistant for a family, as an assistant for a CEO, head of a department, whatever. And we talked about the downsides of that. Can you really do it? Like, it sounds nice, sounds good to be an assistant, you know? Yeah, I'm such and such's assistant. It sounds good, prestigious. I could say, "Oh, I'm Bill Gates' assistant. Everything has to float through me. What do you want?" It sounds good. Sounds nice. We're just gonna go on the jet. I have to charter a jet. I'm gonna go with him to make sure he's comfortable. Right? It sounds nice. But then you get the 6 a.m., 5 a.m. calls. Hey, I need this, that, and whatever. 10 a.m., 10 p.m. calls. I need you to call this person in Asia. And like, I mean, who knows? Just you have to be ready for anything. So, can you really do that job? Would be my question. So, Sharky, can you really do that job? Ted, do you think you could do that job? I'm going to say right now, I don't think I could do it. I just don't think I'd be comfortable. I think that, you know, I just like my life. I like my soft, calm life. I don't like people calling me early in the morning. Likely, if I did have that type of job and someone called me, I have hung up on people. I have hung up on my own brother. He for calling me at a time I was sleeping, and he told me I just told me I hung up on him. Like, listen, I don't think I would make it, being really honest. So that's my closing question to if you're watching the replay. I don't know if I'm gonna leave this up or not. I probably will, at least for a little bit before I add it to members only. Or I might keep it up. I'll have to watch it. I'll have to see what all I said, if I need to cut anything out. Since we were chit-chatting, I don't want anyone to think I have any hate or animosity to, um why am I thinking Kanye West? Kevin Hart. That's a whole 'nother story. Or anything like that. Sharky says, Hillary C. always warned us about that 3 a.m. phone call. I don't even. Too bad I have water that I'm drinking. But I feel like that just needs to be a drink. Just sip for that. That's another one I won't say any comments on because I don't have anything to say. Ted says you heard about the executive assistant that had to sue James Charles so she could get back pay. I heard a lot of different things about James Charles. She had to wake this man up, get him dressed just so he can shoot a video so she can edit it. And she didn't get paid. That's my other okay. So that's the other thing about working with a person directly, right? Or working freelance and things. Sometimes these folks are paid late or they're not paid. Even working freelance at a large company or agency, I've known folks that work in finance and they've told me, like, hey, we're delayed with paying the freelancers. We're behind a month with paying the freelancers. Like, that is something that I don't think I could manage. Like, yes, it's fine, you could, but I just don't think I could manage. Laura B. Laura B. Listen, Laura, you won a contest. Did you know that you won a contest? Did you know? Did you know you won my secret contest? You have to let me know in the chat. Have you been looking at my community tab? I shouted you out and it's on my community tab. the instructions on what you can do if you want your gift. It's not like a huge gift, but it's just a token of appreciation because you won a giveaway. I just kind of randomly have been whenever I get paid from YouTube, I go into my lives. I kind of check out who's been, checking out my lives, who's been supporting. Edward Smart won my last mini giveaway, and you won the most recent one. So, congratulations to you. Laura says, I did not know. Yes, so you won the giveaway. You have to go to the community tab. You have to send me an email with your information, but I have a little something of just appreciation to you. I fell off the earth. Sorry. Oh, I hope you're okay. I hope you're okay. I had a little period where I haven't been making videos and lives and stuff for the past, I would say, week and a half prior to, I guess, what, today, I guess? Wow. Um, but yeah, I had the Rona, so I had to take a break to just care for myself. Shout out to NYC passing a law to get freelancers paid within 90 days. NYC has a lot of good stuff that they do from a policy standpoint, but then there's also a lot of bad things. But I do overall. I like NYC. I like New York. I was there for a little bit. It's just expensive there. It's expensive in New York. The safety is hit or miss. I was talking to someone that is in New York now, and they were talking about how they didn't feel really safe being on the subway. And that's how I was feeling when I left. I left in 2020. And well, I left like towards the end of 2020. I left. And I was just feeling like, look, I'm a single woman. I don't think I can be in New York right now. And I came down to Dallas and was like, yeah, let's try this out. I'll probably go back next year. We'll see. No, I'm still here. You know, I'm like, oh, this is nice. Lots of space, no taxes, all these good things. Oh, I have like, I can actually pay for things, a lot more easily. You don't need a roommate just to have like a manageable rent. It's nice, I would say. And I don't see how what got me in New York, I never understood folks that were making, 15, 16, 18, $20 an hour. Um, I just never really knew how that worked. I mean, what do you have, like 4 or 5 roommates? Like, how are you doing anything at that point? That's really tough living. And you have the taxes. If any state needs to have no taxes, it needs to be like New York and California, but their model would their model just wouldn't work with that. Yes, I look at your community tab. Yes, thank you, Edward. I appreciate that. You're always commenting. That's like, you're that support. But I know other people don't really look at it. And then other people, it just whatever I post may just show up as you're scrolling. Sometimes that happens, and then other posts they don't really YouTube doesn't really push out that way. So I post almost every day. So I know it can be easy to miss a post. So it's okay, Laura, that you missed the post. It's fine. I was checking my email. I was like, she hasn't emailed me. Like, what's up? She doesn't want this. Um, and it's just a token of my appreciation. I'll continue doing these. Normally just anytime I get paid from YouTube because I feel like every YouTuber should do, a giveaway just to say, hey, token of appreciation because YouTube pays us from views for watching. So, and you supporting and things like super chats and things. So why not just say thank you to someone? You can't say thank you to everybody, right? Because I think I'm at I don't know, it's over 2,000 subscribers. And so I can imagine for someone with 100,000 subscribers, yeah, you can't say thank you to everybody. But you can try to say thank you to at least one or, a handful of people, whoever you can that support you. So Okay, Laura, cool. You just sent the email. Jess, we love you, but here's a pro tip. Most people don't check community tab. Twitter is a much better community communication. Really? I don't like Twitter. I don't. I've never really liked Twitter. I've been really trying. I'll try harder, okay? I'm gonna try harder to like Twitter because I know a lot of people are on Twitter. Um, I just it's the last thing I think about. It really is. And what I also don't like about Twitter, maybe because I don't have a ton of followers on Twitter because I'm never on there, but I like with YouTube, I can schedule out posts. A lot of the posts that I made those like 2 months ago, right? And I'm like, "Oh, I wanted this to go out on a Monday," or "I want this to go out on Tuesday. I'm fit this time." I can schedule these posts and have consistent content that I want you to see. So if I'm like, hey, I want to motivate someone on this day. Hey, I want to like say something funny about, the job industry or whatever on this day. Or I want to promote one of my videos on this day. I can do all of that. Or if I just want to take a picture and be like, hey, y'all, and show my face, I can do that. And I can time it. I don't have to proactively every morning sit there and go, okay, what am I going to post about today? Or necessarily make a schedule and then bring that content into here. I can basically have YouTube kind of act as my schedule because I'm posting it all, planning it all out over the course of the next couple months. So anyway, I'm gonna close this out. I can't. How long have we been on here, y'all? We've been talking about Kevin Hart. Sharky got us talking about Kevin Hart movies. But really, I do need another thing to watch. I'm probably gonna cut this part out. But I've been watching a show on Stars. I'm not gonna say this. I'm not gonna share the name. I don't feel like editing tonight, but it's really good. It's about dancers and their lives, and it's so interesting. But I just ended the second season, so now I'm like, okay, I don't have anything to watch. So if you do have suggestions, leave me a comment after the video post, and I'll come back and look at it. I'll try to remember Sharky the Departed, but if you want to put a note on this, either on the community tab, I know you don't go out there, or just under this video, and I'll remember. I'll come back to it, and I can make an attempt to watch that. But I'm just telling you now, I don't I don't have high hopes. I feel like I'm not gonna really like it. But if it has Leonardo the Cart why can't I say his name? Leonardo DiCaprio in it, maybe maybe he'll hold maybe he'll hold the movie. I don't know. We'll see. So Laura, I will be messaging you. Also, hit the playback. We kind of had the conversation already. We talked about the jobs report. We talked about the layoffs. We talked about the companies that are hiring. We talked about the $400,000 executive assistant. So hit the replay. Sharky said, I don't love Twitter. Oh, you don't love Twitter either? We're here. We're here. Okay, full disclosure, but of all the social media platform, it has the tightest integration with YouTube. Really? Look at Sharky coming through, noting facts, giving information. I appreciate that. Okay. Sharky, I will make an attempt to watch this movie. Okay. Make an attempt to watch this movie. And then I'll make an attempt at Twitter. I'm trying with Twitter. I don't know. It's just, I feel like Twitter isn't for me, but we're going to try. Any closing thoughts before we go? This was a good combo. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight. You guys know I had, this thing. Um, this Rona thing. So I can't really do much until I test negative. I'm better. I feel fine at this point, but I just want to make sure that I'm not out and about living it up and pass anything around. I'm not that kind of person. I know some people don't care. But I do care about other people. I want to make sure others, like, I'm safe, you're safe. I want to make sure that um, I'm not passing on the love. We don't kind of need to do that. Okay, no closing thoughts. No, nothing last minute. Well, if you do have last minute thoughts, just leave me a comment. And if you want me to watch something, leave me a comment and I will make an attempt. And then we can come on here, ask me about it. We can talk about it. Enjoyed the chit chat. Thank you, Edward. Please do hit the like button before you all leave. Didn't know you had Rona, Jess. So glad you're feeling better. Oh, thank you. Yes, I'm feeling better. It's not something I want again for sure, but it sounds like it was going around, and yeah, and I was in my aerial silk class. If you're interested in aerial silks, I do have a highlight that I could share in here, but I'm only doing that for when I get a super chat. But I do practice aerial silks, and someone had it, and they were supposed to be over it and negative, but I think they maybe still had some in their system. That was the last thing they did before I felt terrible. It could be that I didn't get it from there, but typically they say gyms or studios, yoga studio, whatever, are normally easy to get. So anyway, I'll close it out. Thank you all for being here. Happy Saturday. I will see you tomorrow. Hopefully, if nothing happens, I will be talking about companies that actually offer time off for menstrual leave. I know it may not be the most interesting topic for men, or maybe it will be interesting for men too, but definitely for women, it can be kind of interesting because I would like that. I actually personally would like it a lot. So if you're interested in that, check me out tomorrow. I think I'm going to be live at 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern. So with that, bye, lovely people. I'll see you next time.